Thanks so much for being with us on the Texas Wealth Report. Brad Johansson with Summer Roberts of Impact Partners Financial. Always good to be back with you.
It's good to be back with you.
Let's answer some good questions today, because really what we're after is trying to figure out how to make your retirement one that's going to last, so you don't have to worry. People being on the golf course, taking a look at the market every single day, wondering whether or not I'm going to make it through the day isn't a way to go through retirement. So let's make it a little bit easier for you. Let's approach some retirement choices. And we constantly come back to this of being a holistic, fiduciary, independent advisor.
Right.
It's a mouthful, but what does it mean?
It is a mouthful. And sometimes it's a little challenging to explain. So the easiest way I can explain it is a holistic advisor does just that, looks at the whole picture. Yeah. Right? You know, your savings, your investing, your taxes, your inflation, your income, add in there, you know, pension, your estate planning, working with attorneys on your estate plan, your legacy plan, what types of withdrawal methods to use once you are retired and you're starting to take income out. All of that has to be put together into a comprehensive plan. It's not, you know, I had a gentleman come to me years ago, and I said, you know, I tell people when they come, if you have a plan, bring it with you. And so I told this gentleman, I said, okay, you have your plan with you, hand it over. Let's take a look. We'll give you a second opinion. And he handed me a stack of statements. And I said, but these are just your investments. He said, yes, that's my plan. And I said, this is not a plan, this is a portfolio. These are investments. They're an important part of a plan, but they're not the entire plan.
My guess is when he hands you a stack of papers with a portfolio statement on it, he's not quite sure what he's actually involved in as well, right? Once you get beyond the paperwork, yes. Do you really know what you're in?
I mean, think about things like healthcare, Medicare, long-term care. Are those statements going to resolve that? Not likely.
How long are they going to last? I mean, what we're dealing with is trying to put together something comprehensive. And in the beginning stages of this, a lot of people will say, well, I've been doing this for a long time. What have you been doing for a long time? You've been accumulating for a long time. Right. And maybe that plan hasn't ever been put together, because what we've been told is you work for 30, 40 years, you figure that out, you go money into a 401k. For a lot of your clients in your area, people are still in pensions. Yep. And many of them are being told that what you're in right now is what you rely on for the rest of your life. What's wrong about that when people say, you know what, well, I'll have a pension and eventually I'll have Social Security and that's going to take me into retirement. That's my plan. What's wrong about that?
Well, it's not necessarily wrong. It's just partial, right?
It's not the full picture.
Exactly. It's just one piece of the plan. It's not the entire plan. Again, how's that going to deal with taxes? What about not only a fiduciary advisor not only thinks about taxes today, but they think about taxes and 10 years and 20 years and 30 years, right? And so we're always planning and forward looking. Whereas if you have investments and a pension and Social Security, that's wonderful, but that's the right here and now. And we have to deal with the here and now, but we also have to deal with moving forward. Where does it go? And I think one of the most important parts of any plan, no matter what kind of plan it is the plan has to be worked consistently and monitored and adjusted as years go by, because things change. Life changes, right? Tell you a quick story. There's a gentleman who came to meet with me. He was 6 months out from retirement. He was planning to retire in 6 months. We met, we went through the entire Texas Wealth Report. We put together a really incredible plan for him. He had worked at his company for 35 years. He had saved a good bit. He had enough money. It was just all about where we positioned it from there. Now, one of the things that we discussed in one of our meetings was healthcare and long-term care. And he told me he didn't want to worry about that right now. His company's plan was just fine. He'll be on his company plan, and then after he retires, then we'll deal with that. Okay, I don't think that's a good idea, but if, you know, that's your money, it's your decision. Well, the most horrific thing happened. A few months before he was about to retire, he got in a terrible motorcycle accident. Oh. I mean, just life-threatening. He was lucky to be alive. He was paralyzed from his waist down.
My goodness.
Yes, I mean, just a terrible, terrible experience. But at that point, there was no way I could have gotten him approved for any type of long-term care or anything to help him with that. He ended up going through his retirement savings very, very quickly. He had to move into a home because he was paralyzed from the waist down. He had to have help. And he ended up having to sell his house, and who knows how long that ended up lasting. So, you know, procrastination is just so detrimental.
Because we never know what's going to happen, and trying to figure out what if. That's the plan in a retirement, what if. Right. We go back to the procrastination part of this, and we'll have many people walk into the office and say, when's a good time for me to start? And I shared with you about all the people that we talk to, and the response is, I wish I would have started this earlier. So you have him walk into your office 6 months before he's ready to retire. Is there a reason for anybody to walk into your office in their 40s, in their 50s, before they're reaching their 60s to say, you know what, maybe it's time for me to start thinking about this? What's the difference in doing that earlier?
Well, I think that's a really good question, because most of the people that I meet with tell me, I wish I would have met you 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But it's never too late. But it's also never too early, because someone in their 40s that is serious about planning for retirement and setting things up, absolutely they should come in. You're never too young. Someone already retired, it's never too late either, and anywhere in between. But the plans are built according to that person, and age, of course, is something that we take into consideration. Or more important than age really is, how close are you to retiring, right? Somebody who's 40 may have the goal of retiring at 55, right? Or someone who's 60 might have the goal of retiring at 70. So it's really more so than age, it's how close are you to retirement. But someone in their 40s is going to have more time on their hands, of course, right? So they can tolerate a little bit more risk if they want that. And we're working
in accumulation phase.
We are. We're still accumulating. They're still making money. They're still putting in. Someone further down that line is getting closer and closer, or already in that distribution phase, where now we have to start changing to where we're pulling out. And how you do that is critically important. That can make or break your plan.
The choices that you make are more significant as more time goes on. And if you're 6 months out, can you predict whether or not you're going to be in an accident on the way out? Can you predict what the next year is going to be? Can you predict whether you're going to have health care issues that are going to last you the rest of your life in 6 months from now? Nobody has a crystal ball. That's why we're talking about what you need to do in approaching retirement is understanding, how can we mitigate the risk? Can we get started right now so that down the road, if something happens, We've planned for it. That's why we'd like you to call the number right now, 866-254-8026, to come in for your complimentary plan. And let's take you through the Texas Wealth Report. That is a comprehensive plan that considers all the what ifs. If this happened, how are you going to adjust to that? Let's put that together for you. In addition to that, and coming in and doing a Texas Wealth Report, you get Summer's book, which is Retire with Impact, which is what we're all after, to have a retirement that lasts the way we want it to, with impact, not only for ourselves, but maybe with a legacy plan for people who are left behind. Call the number right now, 866-254-8026. Let's put a plan together for you. The Texas Wealth Report continues after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
So glad you chose to join us on the Texas Wealth Report. Brad Johansson with Summer Roberts from Impact Partners Financial. And we're kind of talking about all the decisions that you need to be making in preparation for retirement. And timing becomes a significant factor on that. Timing right now with taxes is probably one of the most significant things we need to talk about, especially since we're in the third best marginal tax bracket that we've seen in history. And people go, well, it doesn't feel like I'm in a good situation. But we've got a situation now where this is going to sunset at the end of 2025. And if you don't believe that taxes are going up, let me give you some of the situations that we're sitting in right now with a tax debt for this country of over $35 trillion. And the money that you've saved, tax deferred in those 401k accounts and beyond, probably over $37,000, $38,000. If the government knows where to go, it's with people who've tax deferred money. Taxes are probably something that we need to spend a little bit of time on in making choices where you are right now.
I mean, taxes are an absolute must to any retirement plan. I mean, now more so than ever before, because we are currently at such low rates, even though none of us feel like it. But, you know, when we're looking at income in retirement, right? When we're looking at where your income comes from, most people's income comes from Social Security. And Social Security, depending on which tax threshold you're on, it could be taxed at 0, could be taxed up to 50% of it, could be up to 85% of your Social Security could be taxed at ordinary tax rates, right?
In a program that was never supposed to be taxed.
Never. It was created, and they said it will never, ever, ever be taxed. But, you know, as legislative risk tells us.
Well, Ronald Reagan did that in 83 at 50, as you said. Then Clinton did it again in 93 at 85%. Right. And the formula hasn't changed since 1983 on what you're going to do with that. And now with the amount of debt that you have right now with the government, they have to figure something out. So the question is, do you think taxes are going up or going down?
Well, you know my thoughts on that. I mean, I think there's only one option there ultimately. Now, do we know that taxes are going to go up next year and 5 years and 10 years? We don't really know. We don't have a crystal ball that can answer that question for us. But we know, given the current situation, that most people are retired for 25 to 35 years.
Yep.
So in the next 25 to 35 years, could taxes go higher? Absolutely. Could they potentially go much, much higher? Absolutely. I don't like it any more than anyone else does, but it will happen. So we've got a choice. We can stick our head in the sand, or we can plan for it and do something. Because the biggest asset that most retirees have, besides their primary home, is their qualified plan, their retirement plan. And the majority of those plans are tax deferred, meaning they have never ever once paid a dime of taxes on that money. And it's just been accumulating and growing very nicely. Some people have done a really brilliant job. And eventually, when they pull it out, it's taxable at whatever tax rates are at that time. And here's the even crazier part, is that let's say you have, between Social Security and pension or whatever, you have enough income coming in, and you don't need that for income. We don't need to use that 401k or IRA for income. Well, even if you don't need it or want it, the IRS is going to force you to start taking it out at a certain age. That's called your required minimum distribution, your RMD.
Used to be, and we talk about the government changing rules. So it used to be at 70, now it's at 73, and it's going to go to 75.
It's going to kick back.
Then beyond that, if you happen to pass and move that on to your children, they have 10 years to be able to take that out.
Right.
These are the required minimum distributions. When we talk about strategies of doing that in the time where we know what the rules are right now, you like to talk about Roth conversions and being able to use some strategies right now that you can take advantage of to lessen the government's part in your tax plan.
Oh yeah, I want to get the government out as much as possible. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Roth IRAs are very beneficial because you pay the tax now, and from that point forward, it grows and grows and grows, and you don't have to deal. It doesn't matter what tax bracket you're in later with that bucket of money. The tax rates right now are at historical lows. So as much as none of us want to pay extra taxes, realistically, historically speaking, now is a good time to pay taxes. You will have to pay them at some point or another. We just need to determine, is it more beneficial for you to go ahead and pay them now, or to wait and let that accumulate and pay those taxes later? So that's really ultimately the question. And it's not just Roth conversions or Roth contributions. There are other strategies, other tax strategies that are very, very beneficial that could be used. But we can't do that until we run an initial tax conversion analysis. And that's part of the Texas Wealth Report.
This all comes inside the Texas Wealth Report.
It is, because we have to see first and foremost, is a conversion plan or a tax plan beneficial to you? I've run so many of those. I've run plans where the difference in paying taxes now versus later is a difference of as much as $400,000 in taxes.
Really?
Which to me, that's a no-brainer. Of course, I'd rather pay the less taxes now, right? But then we've also run them to where the difference isn't that big. Maybe it's just last week we ran one, and the difference was $30,000 between the paying taxes now or later, which is not astronomical when you think about it, and it's spread over their lifetime. That particular couple wanted to do the conversion anyway because they didn't want to. It's like when my kids have Band-Aids on and I either rip it off really quick or you know, slow and painful. So some people want to just get that Band-Aid ripped off.
But understanding
yeah.
where you are and having the analysis created then helps you make the choice of, here's what I want to do. Here's what I'd like to do now. Here's what I'd like to do later. And the choices come out of the Texas Wealth Report, which is why we'd like you to call now, 866-254-8026, to come in for a complimentary review. Let's talk about all the things that you're dealing with. Have you even assessed where you are on your taxes right now in one of the best situations that we are tax-wise in history? That's going to sunset at the end of 2025. Then the rules change again. And we know that the government will change the rules to benefit them, especially with a government that's $35 trillion in debt. Wouldn't you like to create a tax report that actually analyzes where you need to be and how it's best for you instead of how it's best for the government? Let us put together a Texas Wealth Report for you so that you can analyze what you need to do and make your best choice instead of the government making the choice for you. Call now. 866-254-8026. The Texas Wealth Report continues after this.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. Hey, birthday party for Carol and 5. Happy birthday to you.
Good morning, Ben. Happy Monday.
Daryl's birthday, be there or be square. Happy birthday to you. As you can see from our quarterly report on slide number 62, we're trending in the right direction. All signs point to a very positive outlook for the next several years. If you peel back the onion...
Ben, do you have anything to add?
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
So glad you're with us on the Texas Wealth Report. Brad Johansson with Summer Roberts of Impact Partners Financial. As we're going through how you need to plan for this, there are people maybe watching the show and want to come in. There may be people who are seeing, hey, Retire with Impact. I'd like a copy of that book, but I'm not sure I want to come in for an appointment. People will see you at workshops out in the community dealing with a lot of these things.
Right.
They're fearful of being able to come in and ask all the questions. So hand me something that will give me all the answers. Take me through what's next of people coming into your office.
Well, I think the most important thing is just coming in. That is the first step. You have to come in and sit down. It's an educational process for both of us. Our office is very laid back, very casual. My office even bakes fresh baked cookies every morning.
I'm in.
So I know, right? But it's a very casual conversation in that first consultation, because the goal is that we need to get to know you, and you need to get to know us as well. So we ask a lot of questions. We really try to dig deep and get to know and understand our people more, so that we can see, can we be an asset to this person or not? And, you know, I tell everyone that, look, if we don't feel like we can be an asset to you, we are going to tell you that. 100%. If you're in a good place and we don't feel like we can put you in a better place or be a big asset to you, then we will tell you that. But if you're not, then, you know, the first meeting is very casual. getting to know one another. You have to bring your information, just like a doctor can't just write you a prescription.
We got to know how we put a plan together.
Right. You have to know the history. You have to know what you have. You've got to have all of the data in there, right? So then from that point, my team will take everything from that first initial consultation, and that's when they go to work and they start running all these reports, all these analyses, seeing where they are at that point. And honestly, Brad, I tell people that the worst thing that could happen by you coming in for a consultation is that you leave there having a much more clear vision of where you are, right? Whether good, bad, or ugly, at least you have the information and you have a much more clear picture. Because without it, I mean, who knows? And I understand that, gosh, I mean, like the dentist, I hate going to I mean, there is nothing more cringe than being forced to go to a dentist. But I know that if I don't, then my health could be in danger, my teeth will be disgusting, and everything will start to go downhill. So I force myself to go. And I'll tell you what, every time I go in there, I think, this isn't bad. And I leave there with beautiful teeth, feeling really good about it, right? So that's the kind of experience we want people to have when they leave our office. I want them, if it's a couple or a single, it doesn't matter. I want them leaving our office thinking, man, they asked some really good questions. They asked questions we never even thought of ourselves. Or they asked questions and they brought up things that our advisor hasn't even bothered to ask us in 20 years, right? So I really, that first initial consultation, I can't tell you, it's probably the most important meeting. After that is easy.
Let's make it easy for you. It's much better than the dentist. And it's pulling your head out of the sand to give you some answers on some things that you've been saying, you know what, I'm too fearful to even ask. Let's go through it. Let's put together a complimentary plan and give you a Texas Wealth Report that may make you go, aha, this is so much better. Maybe I can do this. 866-254-8026. We appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us on the Texas Wealth Report. We look forward to seeing you in the office.